background information for the lab that you're working on, so you know who, what, when, where. Because you're trying to figure out the why is this going on. Why do we care about Alright, we got the letters X, Y, and Z. What's their deal? We don't really want to compare. We don't want to compare X, Y, and Z to megabucks. They shouldn't be related. So it's just like X, Y, or Z. Use your ruler to cover things up if you don't want to compare. And then remember, if it's one kid, more than one kid, none of the kids could be anything. Anything is possible. All right, gentlemen, what is the deal? Who is megabucks? What did the front say about him? Who is he? All right, y'all, read this background info so you know who are these people on the back. Otherwise, that gel is not going to make any sense. I'll be back. All right, what's up, y'all? That is true. The ceiling is there. I'm glad there's no hole. So here's the deal. Remember, kids can get bands from mom and bands from dad. So we want to find the kid that has the most bands in common with one set of the parents. They're not going to match it perfectly like they did in your work. That's one person to one DNA fragment. They can be similar. You are correct. So that's why we want that ruler. Cover up some parents and then compare them to the kids. So each of those babies need to make sure that they end up with the correct set of parents. Otherwise, it could be really bad. You got this, kid. You got this. All right, so who is Megabucks? Who is he? Yes, what happened to him? He died. All right, what did all these ladies say after he died? Besides they cried. You know, it's sad. Yeah, what is ladies saying? What are they saying, John? Oh, so they want their child to get all this money, which kind of gets them some money. So, the ladies are X, Y, and Z because we've removed their names for legal purposes. Their children are X child, Y child, Z child. So do we want to compare the moms to megabucks? No, they should not be related. Otherwise, let's go. We got other problems going on, like what we saw with King Tut, his parents. Yeah, that's some messed up stuff. So, who do we want to compare to megabucks if it's not X, Y, and Z, the ladies, the child? So, remember, use those rulers. Cover up things that you don't want to look at, and then you can use another ruler to see what child, children, or none of them have in common with megabucks. So, you're going to have to put the brains together. You can do this. Make sure you read background info on the paternity case, because otherwise the show is not going to make any sense. Alright, how's it going, John? You just started this one? Okay. Alright, gentlemen. Who is Megabucks? Why did you hear about him? These ladies, X, Y, and Z, why did they hear about Megabucks? They think that Megabucks is the father of their children or child. So, X, Y, and Z are the moms. Which of the three moms that Megabucks are? So who are we going to compare to Megabucks? Kids. Use your rulers. Cover up things that you don't want to see. It could be one kid, more than one kid, none of them anything. Anything is possible. Because remember, just like with mix up in the hospital, kids get some bands from mom and some bands from dad. What's going on with neighborhoods? Why do we care about him? Yes, what happened to him? He did this. So, what do these women X, Y, and Z, why do they care about it? Yeah, they think that they're going to get his money. So, we want to compare X, Y, and Z's DNA to Megabucks, the latest, the mom. Why? Mom's DNA to Megabucks? No, that would mean that they would be related. So, who do we want to compare kids? So, use your rules, cover at base. What kid, or kids, or none of the kids, have bands in common with them? Give me the other one. It is always possible.
Okay, so one of the notes is supposed to mention. Okay, that's all we did.
It could be always. Remember, these are based on real things that have happened. So, well, remember, we have to change names for legal purposes. We can't just release somebody's name. So they have changed everybody's name and, you know, some of the details about their lives, so we can't, you know, just go to Google and look it up. Why do we care about legal? So they're saying, well, things are going to dad. So if a child takes some money, and that means that I get some. So we want to compare the DNA of the moms, X, Y, and Z, to members.
Is baby
So cover up what you need to. See if there's any kids or none of the kids that. All right, let's do this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, look this way. Here we go. See, I got your attention. All right, we are going over Case of the Bloody Knife. I'm going to read you the background information, then I'm going to put the gel electrophoresis results on the board. So make sure that you pay very close attention. Here is the situation. The Case of the Bloody Knife. Wow. Late one April night, government agents received an anonymous tip that the National Art Museum was about to be robbed of a priceless jewel collection. When they arrived at the museum, they saw they were too late. The jewels were gone. Lying face down on the floor, though, next to the empty jewel case, was the body of a man the chief inspector recognized as the international jewel thief, Henrik Milhouse. Milhouse had been shot at close range. His clothes were soaked with blood, and underneath his body, they found a bloody knife. At the airport the next day, police apprehended Inglewood Schmink, Milhouse's former and occasional partner in crime. Schmink denied all knowledge of the murder and of the jewelry theft. But whenever inspectors asked him about the cut on his hand, he said that he had had an accident in the kitchen that morning cooking breakfast. Suspicious, the chief inspector ordered DNA tests on Milhouse, the blood on Milhouse's clothes, Schmink, and the blood on the knife. So here are the gel electrophoresis results. You only have one question to answer. So we have several different lanes. Over here we have Milhouse, his DNA, Schmink's DNA, the blood on the clothes DNA, and the blood found on the knife DNA. So what is your interpretation of the data? You can't just charge someone with a crime. Right now we're holding Schmink. We're detaining him. However, his lawyer's getting a little irritated and saying, hey, you don't have enough evidence to hold my client anymore. You need to release him. However, based on evidence and evidence alone, our question is, should Schmink be released? Yes or no? You have to tell me why or why not. So we are comparing the DNA from Milhouse and Schmink to the DNA found in the blood on the clothes and the knife. You have 3 minutes to answer this question on your paper. So you gotta tell me yes or no, because, so yes, he should be released because, or no, he should not be released because, So, remember, it has to be based on evidence and evidence only. Then we're going to grade all of our labs. So, on your mark, get set, answer your question. Talk to each other. So remember, it must be based on evidence. Compare your bands just like you did with your other labs. Once you have answered this, you may pack up your pencil. You're done with your pencil for today. Hello? Yes. I do. Gosh, I'm sleeping. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have 2 minutes to get your question answered. Yes, he should be released because, or no, he should not be released because, I know y'all are acting a fool up here. I know y'all are not acting a fool up here. You're about to go to 10th grade. I have no idea. It's close enough, you could, yeah, just in case. Don't touch each other. Disease spread.
Wait, what are we doing, Miss Nancy?
All right, you got 1:30. Remember, it must be a complete thought on your paper. Yes, he should be released because, or no, he should not be released because. Remember, it has to be based on evidence, not just we think this. No. That's not going to be good enough for Schmitz longer. He'll tell you, You got to have evidence to be able to hold him or detain him for further questioning. So you have less than a minute. Finish your thoughts. And we're going to grade all these. So once you've answered this question, pack up your pencil so you do not accidentally leave it in here. I do not need to find a bouquet of pencils on the there. You have 30 seconds. Please remember, your 9 weeks test is tomorrow. Make sure that you study your study guide. Your study guide is your test is the study guide. Make sure you study. If you study, you'll be fine. If you don't, you probably won't. Just saying. Just saying. All right, here we go. You are finished with your question, or be finishing up. If you're finishing up a sentence, finish up your sentence. We are going to grade mix up at the hospital first. If you get something correct, you will leave it alone, not put any marks on that question. If something is incorrect, you're going to put /-3 because there's 3 questions for mix up at the hospital. You're going to give yourself a score out of 10 after we check all of these. So mix up at the hospital, here we go. Question number 1, which baby belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Can I get a drum roll for the first question? That was beautiful, that was beautiful. Which baby belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Smith? It is baby number 3. If you got this correct, you will leave it alone. If you did not get it correct, you will put / through question number 1 and put -3. Or number 2, make sure you're paying attention because I'm moving on, y'all. Number 2, which baby belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson? It is baby number 1. If you put baby number 1 for number 2, you would leave it alone. If you did not put baby number 1 for number 2, put /-3. And then question number 3, which baby belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Jones? That is baby number 2. Go ahead and give yourself a score out of 10 for mix up at the hospital. You get 1 free point for just simply completing the lab. So each question is worth 3 points. All right, anyone still getting a score for mix-up at the hospital? Anybody? All right, let's look at paternity case. Paternity case, only one question. If you get this right, you will put 10 out of 10. If you get it partially right, you get 5 out of 10. If you get it not right at all, it's a 1 out of 10. I'll give you 1 point for attempting the lab. The question is, could any of the alleged heirs be Megabooks' children? If so, which one or ones? It's child Y. And child Y only. If you only put child Y, then you give yourself a 10 out of 10. If you put child Y as well as another child, like you put child Y and child Z, then you get a 5 out of 10. If you did not include child Y at all, then it's a 1 out of 10. So if you put only child Y, 10 out of 10. If you put child Y and another one, like child Y and X or child Y and Z, it's 5 out of 10. If you didn't include child Y at all, it's a 1 out of 10. All right, remember, that is a separate lab that is mixed up with the hospital. So it is 312. It's 10 out of 10. You got all of them correct. It's 10 out of 10. All right, y'all. Last one. Based on our data for a case of the bloody knife, should Schmink be released? All right, show of hands. How many of you, your group, thought that we should release Schmink? We should let him go because we don't have a reason to detain him any longer. Raise your hand. You're like, let him go. Oh. Okay. How many of you think that we should keep detaining him for further questioning? Raise your hand. Whoa. Now, okay, I'm hearing a lot of, we don't need to let him go. Well, again, Schmink's lawyer is going to come back and go, okay, well, you tell me why you need to keep detaining my client. You tell me why. I need solid evidence. So let's provide him some evidence. I'm going to circle Millhouse's bands in red, and I'm going to circle Schmink's DNA, his bands in blue. Well, whose DNA was found on the blood on the clothes? Who does that match? Millhouse. Snap, crackle, pop. However, what about the blood found on the knife? Whose DNA is in the blood on the knife? Woo! Scandal. You are correct. Both people's, Schmink and Millhouse, both of their DNA was found on the knife. So what does that tell you? Was Schmink there at the crime scene, yes or no? Yes. Yes. Where do you think he got that cut on his hand that he said that he had an accident in the kitchen that morning cooking breakfast? Probably from Millhouse. Do you want to know what actually happened? Yes. Yes. So, here's the deal. Millhouse and Schmink had been estranged for a few years. They frequently got into verbal altercations whenever they tried to, complete jobs together. And they just so happened they both were at the crime scene trying to steal the jewelry at the same time. Well, just like in past experiences, they got into an argument. Well, then Millhouse pulls out his knife and he decides that he's just going to get rid of Schmink once and for all. Well, Schmink don't like that whenever he cuts his hand and he's like, oh no, you didn't. And then Schmink decides, okay, I'm not going to let you stab me to death right here in this museum. So he pulls out his firearm and then proceeds to shoot Millhouse. Whenever Millhouse is shot at close range, he ends up falling on the knife that he stabbed Schmink with or cut Schmink with on his hand. So if you said no, he should not be released, give yourself a 10 out of 10. Good job. Excellent job today. What I need for you to do, pens need to go in the box on my desk, and then labs. First, add up all 3 labs and give yourself a score out of 30 really fast. Add up all 3 labs, give yourself a score out of 30. And then you're going to put your notebook paper in the 4th period box, and we need to start getting ready to head to lovely 5th period. We are halfway through the day, y'all. Go us. Good job. Okay. Excellent. Back to the road that they belong. Make sure you got your pencil. Remember, study for that 39 weeks. test tomorrow. Bye, Walter. Have a good day.